Hi, my name is Carol Bernardone. I'd like to thank you all for coming today, but especially my family, friends, and everyone who has supported me on this journey. Your support has been incredible and made my idea of writing a book grow from a tiny seed of hope to a blossoming reality. I also want to thank Margaret for inviting me here today. When she first invited me, I told her that I hope she didn't think that I was claiming to be an expert gardener, because I certainly am not. I do love gardening, but I have a lot to learn. My goal in writing Growing Hope is to share with everyone how therapeutic I find gardening to be, not just for myself, but how it helps so many of my students throughout my career. Just to be clear, when I refer to gardening and its therapeutic benefits today, I don't just mean having a large in-ground garden or a bunch of raised beds or dozens of container flower pots. I'm really talking about any connection you can make with nature, plants, and so on. Before I get into my book, I'd like to share a little history with you to give you a better idea of what brought me here today. A good friend asked me recently what inspired me to get into gardening, and it really made me dig deep and think about when I first made that connection with nature. I grew up on Cross Street right here in Southbridge, and I didn't have a garden, but I did have a small patch of dirt under some bushes that I fondly remember playing with my Matchbox cars in for hours. It may sound silly to some, but I remember feeling such a sense of peace playing in the soil and building little roads for my cars out of rocks and twigs. Another fond memory I can clearly visualize is my meme tossing her watering can into Cedar Lake that she had tied to a rope to get water to water the flowers around her house. I would follow her around as she explained why she chose the flowers she did. I also joined her frequently to water the flowers at the cemetery for her son, my Uncle Lionel, who passed away at a very young age from a brain tumor. I didn't quite understand what all that meant as a child, but I sure do now. My Pepe also shared his love of gardening with me and had me picking beans out of his garden as soon as I was able to. As I grew older, and once I had a garden of my own, he and I had a contest every year to see who would grow the bigger tomato. The loser had to pay for a dinner of the other's choice. I don't remember ever winning that contest, but I do remember the smile on his face and how happy it made me feel to be able to do that with him. When he got older and could no longer enjoy his big garden, I made some container tomato plants for him right on his porch so we could continue our contest. We did this until he passed away in 2009. Before passing away, my Meme and Pepe made me promise that I would continue to take care of the flowers at the cemetery before Memorial Day every year, and I'm grateful to say that I haven't missed a year yet. I didn't know until getting older just how much I would cherish these memories and experiences and how they made me who I am today. Skipping ahead, I've had the pleasure of sharing my love of nature and gardening with my husband, who makes sure the garden and beds are rototilled and ready for planting every year. My father, Bill, who I exchange seeds with and shop for plants with annually. My mom, who paints my beautiful signs. My father-in-law, Randy, who shared some very precious seeds with me from Italy that I've been able to preserve. My own children, my daycare children years ago, literally hundreds of students over the years, and now my grandchildren. I even had the pleasure of making and publishing a book with my grandchildren who love gardening with Nana. Speaking of gardening with children, I'd like to share a funny story with you. During the time my Pepe and I were having the contest to grow the bigger tomato every year, I kept a container of Miracle Grow that I mixed in an orange juice container in a closet. I thought for sure it was out of reach and not accessible to my children. But one day my son Nathan asked me if he could get himself a drink. Being an occupational therapist, I always encourage independence and agreed to letting him get his own drink. I think he was 6 or 7 at the time. So Nathan gets his drink, comes to me and says, "Mommy, the juice tastes funny." He showed me his juice, and I asked him where he got it. He brought me to the closet where my container of Miracle Grow was, obviously not hidden well enough. I quickly called poison control, and they told me that he would be fine and to drink a lot of water to dilute the Miracle Grow. They also told me that he would grow to be 7 feet tall. They weren't too far off because he grew to be 6 feet 4 inches tall. Let me make it clear, I'm not encouraging anyone to go home and drink Miracle Grow, but I wanted to share that with you. Now that you have a little history, I'll share with you what brings me here today. I have always loved incorporating planting, nature crafts, building, and so on into my therapy sessions with my students over the years. As you can see in an article I have here from 2004, I started a small gardening program at the Grow School back then. I was able to get several local retailers to donate gardening supplies, lumber to build 3 raised beds, and some invaluable advice from a couple local gardeners. At the time, we didn't even have a water source outside, and we had to fill our watering cans inside and bring them out to the beds, but we made it work. We grew tomatoes, squash, pumpkins, strawberries, and so on. The students were responsible for watering and weeding the garden beds. I'll never forget their amazement and pride when they saw how a simple seed could turn into vegetables and fruits that we made into salads and pies and more. I can't take credit for what it is today, but the Grow School garden now has 14 raised beds, a greenhouse, a weather station that measures temperature, wind speed, humidity, and rainfall. And they don't have to fill watering cans, as they do have an outside water source today. We are lucky enough to have a middle school teacher who is also a master gardener and several other amazing staff members who have really turned the garden into an incredible learning experience for our students. So over the years, I've used planting and nature activities to reach many students. I work with students who have a wide range of diverse needs, abilities, and challenges. Many of them can participate with some support and supervision, and some require almost 100% assistance to hold a shovel, scoop the soil, and so on. But regardless of their abilities or challenges, I can honestly say that I don't know one student who didn't enjoy the experience it offered them. Whether it be the sensory benefits or the calm and happy feeling they mentioned having while planting, or the success they experienced while watching their seeds grow and plants blossom. There are even lessons learned when having to problem solve and replant when things don't grow as planned. I've had many students who have enjoyed such experiences, but one particular student of mine took it to the next level. Meet Jack. He's in the pictures over there. He was going to come today, but he's a little nervous, so that's okay. Jack first came to me as an occupational therapy student with goals to address his printing and technology skills and to help him develop coping strategies when he was feeling dysregulated. Jack did not want to attend therapy sessions, especially if it meant working on some of these areas that he struggled with. At first, he even refused to attend. I had to get creative and find a way to reach Jack. One very important thing I learned from Jack and many other students is that before asking them to work on things that are non-preferred and difficult for them, you need to get to know them and earn their trust. It's not wasted time to take the first few sessions to find out what they are interested in, play with them, learn about their home and family or lack of, and what's most important to them. I quickly discovered that Jack loved to work outside. He loved digging and planting, sweeping, building, painting, and anything related to nature and gardening. Once I earned Jack's trust, he began attending therapy sessions regularly. One day I gave Jack a clipboard and paper and said, "Let's go for a walk." I asked Jack to jot down what he thought needed to be done around the school. I didn't correct him on spelling or the formation of his letters. That would come later on. Jack spotted flower beds that needed cleaning up, picnic tables that needed painting, a sandbox that needed refilling, and so many other projects. I could see that a spark was lit, and Jack was determined to be able to check off every job on his list. Jack and I cleaned up his list a bit. He willingly worked on making it more legible, and he even wanted to type it up and email the principal. Jack also wanted everyone to be involved, so we invited each classroom to pick an activity to help with. Jack then went home and told his family that the sandbox needed more sand and got them to donate it to the school. There was no stopping Jack at this point. Jack went from not wanting to attend therapy to being one of my most successful students. Before returning to his district school, Jack was determined to create a beautiful flower garden to leave us with. Jack and I worked with our maintenance supervisor at the time, Gary, to make his dream a reality. Jack rototilled the area, got some plants donated, installed a drainage system, requested mulch, and built a rock barrier around the flower bed. There isn't really much that Jack can't do. I'm very proud of Jack's accomplishments and the responsible and hard-working young man he is today. So hopefully I've painted a pretty clear picture for you to understand the many inspiring forces, especially Jack, for motivating me to write Growing Hope, and the many benefits you can reap by connecting with nature. I really hope that in hearing this story, that we've inspired you all to plant your own seeds of hope, whether it be an actual garden or a metaphorical example of whatever goal you want to achieve or challenge you want to overcome. Plant that seed today. I never believed I could actually write and publish a book, but a seed of hope was planted in me some time ago. It was nurtured by the waters of love, friendship, hope, and courage, and blossomed into the creation that I still can't believe exists today. Thank you all for being here today, and Margaret for inviting me to share my book with you. Please feel free to come up and take a look at the pictures, my book, and take some bookmarks and seeds home with you. Thank you again for coming today. Any questions?
That was really a wonderful, very inspiring story, Carol, for sharing. And what a wonderful time of year to be talking about spring and all the opportunities that there are to start a garden, and maybe how there would be so much beneficial, so many items of benefit to you when gardening. Because it is a strenuous and can be ambitious to start a garden. But I think, as you say, it is a metaphor for starting small and working up, and I think you proved that in respect to your student and how he developed such skill set and interest in forming the garden at the school. I would love if the students could be here today, but hopefully they'll get to see this presentation and will understand the kind of work that you're trying to do with them, that it's not all about like instructing and stuff like that. There's all this subtle encouragement and guidance being given, and I think that's really terrific, because I think it's a very inspiring story, and there's a copy that she has donated as well to the library, so anybody who'd like to borrow that would be available.
So the Grow School has two locations. We have one location on Ashland Ave in Southbridge. That's where the old bowling alley, the Hippodrome Lanes, I believe it was called, was located. And that's our elementary school. The middle high school is located in Dudley. That's where our big garden is. But what's kind of funny is I used to bowl at that bowling alley as a child. And now my office is located right in that building. So it's kind of funny how things came full circle.
Yeah, and you're looking for some photographs of the bowling alley as it was, to show the students and this is another project that Carol has,
right,
to interest the students in like the community and the history of the community, and I guess to show like that buildings can have multi-functions, and something that looks today like one thing was something completely different before, and
right,
that can happen within a lifetime.
I have shared quite a few, the pictures that I do have with them, I got some from Dick Whitney, and the students, they were amazed at what it used to look like, but I only have a couple of the inside and I don't have any of the outside, so I would love to get more pictures and maybe make a PowerPoint for them to see.
That'd be wonderful. Can I just ask a further question? So how would you recommend somebody would start? Like somebody who really would like to think that they could grow a garden but have really no skill set, and even resources might be very challenging. I would like to mention at this point that the Southbridge Garden Club has donated some seeds to the library. So if anybody is interested in coming by and picking up seeds, it's for vegetables and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you'd be welcome to come and get them, because through the generosity of the garden club.
They could even start by just collecting like yogurt containers or milk jugs or something small that they have around the house. It doesn't have to, it shouldn't cost anyone a huge amount of money to begin. And they could even take some flowers from outside and harvest them, dry them out, use the seeds from that. Or like you said, take advantage of donations in the community as well. If they have access to any land outside, they could dig up the soil there. Or you could even go to Dollar Tree has small bags for very cheap. They have some nice items, some little garden signs, and they have the trowels and and things like that that you could use there. And just start small. Just start with a few. Sunflowers are my favorite. They grow really easy. They're a lot of fun to do with kids because they most often take and you can watch them grow pretty quickly. I just did some sunflowers with my students at school over the last few weeks with some sunflower seeds that I had harvested. So they thought that was really neat. And you can always move to in-ground gardening if that's something you feel comfortable with. Raised beds are always really nice too, especially if you have trouble bending over or have a limited amount of land. So there's a lot of different things you can start with.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for coming today, Carol. This was a wonderful presentation and very inspiring, and I'm hoping that some young people will see it and really take a leaf out of your book. For anybody who would like some assistance with gardening, there is a garden club in Southbridge, and there's tons and tons of YouTube videos that would really help somebody get started. And of course, there's also a book at the Jacob Edwards Library. So thank you all for coming, and congratulations.
Thank you.